Personal story time. What got me interested in the paranormal? I'm going to talk about my personal experiences with the paranormal. You guys might think I'm crazy for telling you some of this stuff, but I promise you it's all 100% true. No exaggerations, no making anything up. I'm a Inupiaq, I'm Eskimo, and I come from a long line of shamans. My great-grandmother was one of the last true village shamans in Shishmaref. Shamanism was banned for the Eskimo people. And my mom was one of the last people that I know of. There's probably more that I'm not aware of. Her grandma, who was a legit shaman trained back in the day, did a ceremony on my mom when she was born to give powers to my mom. She put rabbit fur and chanted, did this ceremony, and she transferred some healing abilities to my mother, and she's a healer today. She still does stuff like that. I've had an early introduction to this sort of thing, the paranormal, the supernatural. I've heard about it since I was little, so I never really had a closed-off mind to it. I think my first experience with the supernatural when I was in Saskatchewan, Canada. My family would go to Native American spiritual gatherings a lot, and we were at a very large one in Saskatchewan. And me and my sister, with a bunch of other kids, were watching the northern lights in the sky. And there was a northern light that was golden color, and it was dancing in the sky a lot. It was moving a lot, so we were watching it like, whoa, look at that, that's awesome. And all of a sudden the blob, it was like a circular blob almost, but like with a bunch of blob things sticking out. It unfurled itself, and the blob opened up, and it opened large wings that were very large in the sky. And then a head stuck out and talons stuck out of the bottom. And this was when I was about 11 years old. And it turned into a giant eagle. And it wasn't like a cloud where you're like, hey, that kind of looks like an eagle. Oh, would you look at that? I can kind of see the shape of a gun or whatever when you're, pareidolia, where you see the shape of things. This eagle was in extreme detail, like an artist's rendering. Like, you could see all the lines of the feathers. You could see the lines in between each feather. You could see the definition of the beak, the hole in the beak, the eyeball. All the feathers, the talons came out, and you could see the claws. You could see the scales on the feet at the claw. So it was an extremely detailed eagle. There was no way this was a coincidence. It spread its wings, and it was just pure gold, and it opened its wings wide, and it turned its head to the side. And then it looked back, like down at us, and then it flapped once, and then it folded its wings back in itself, ducked its head, and it turned back into a blob. And I would think I was crazy today, and like, oh, my memory's failing me, and it's impossible, because that shouldn't be able to happen. It doesn't, that kind of stuff just doesn't happen, right? But my sister remembers it clearly, so I know it wasn't just in my head. During that same Native American spiritual gathering in Saskatchewan, another strange thing happened. I was about 11 years old, and all of a sudden I felt the urge to tell everyone to get out of the way. There's this huge tent with a log in the middle. It was like a very hefty log, like thicker than a telephone pole and tall. Like they got a whole tree and put it up to hold this huge carnival-like tent up. One of those big-ass tents where you had the middle pole. And I screamed at everyone to get out of the way. I was very adamant about it. I was very demanding. And for some reason, everyone listened to an 11-year-old, and they all started scattering out of the way. There's maybe around 50 or 60 people around the tent pole. When everybody finally got out of the way, lightning struck the pole, and it snapped in half and crashed. And if I didn't tell those people to get out of the way, it would have killed them, for sure, because that was many tons. It was a massive log, definitely enough to flatten a car or multiple cars. It was my birthday, and I came home from school. I was a big time troublemaker. I was expelled multiple times, and I was always in fights, and pranking people and all this stuff. And I came home and it was my birthday. And I was expecting there to be cake. I was expecting presents and all this stuff to be prepared. I was all happy. But I come home, nothing's being cooked in the oven. Nobody's home. And I was pissed off. I was like, what the hell? Like, it's my birthday. Like, what the hell's going on? So I started throwing a tantrum like a little bitch. A box in the back room fell down. And it scared me for a second because, as a child, I was a pretty brave child, but I thought it was a ghost. So I was like, oh crap, a ghost. Because I was home alone. And I was like, you know what? Screw this ghost. And so I worked myself up into a bigger frenzy. I got really pissed. And I just started screaming. I started screaming and hollering, and all of a sudden I felt like I could see in a 360-degree bubble around me. Like a sphere. And I could see inside my bones. I could see inside the metal of the stove. We had a wood stove. I could see in my muscle tissue. I could see in the attic. I could see the fiberglass installation. I could see under the floorboards. I could see between the floorboards. I had like a very detailed 360-degree view of everything. And it was very odd. And the only way I could describe it is like multiple perspectives at once, but it wasn't like I was moving around. It's just like I could see it all at the same time. And then I felt like a tornado of energy swirled through my feet. And it felt like it was blue energy. And I could see like the nature of reality at that moment. I could see that through all things flows these rivers of power, like raw, raging, intense energy. And there was multiple rivers, and it seemed like each river of power was a different emotion, like love, courage, honor. And there was just these infinite, and they're all just flowing through everything, like all things were a part of this. I'm getting a little sidetracked, but anyway, the energy from those rivers that I saw, I touched it. I felt like I dipped my toe into it, like I dipped into it, because I could see it. And it wasn't like literally like I'm walking somewhere and I dipped my toe into it. It was like when I had the 360-degree view, I also saw these rivers flowing through everything, and then a part of me touched it. And when I touched it, I was flooded with energy, just energy beyond anything I could comprehend. And it was flooding me so much that it was like beyond the point of bursting. And I felt supremely confident in that moment. So I touched these rivers, one of the rivers, I don't know which one, because I've only seen it a couple times in my life, and it just flooded me. And then I felt extraordinarily powerful and confident, and I pointed at the bed across the room, and I commanded it. I said, rise. It wasn't a request. It wasn't like, oh, I'm psychic, I'm going to make this move. Sweating, It was like absolute and utter confidence. I pointed at the bed across the room. I commanded it to rise, and I felt this energy flowing through me, like this, like I could do anything in the universe that I wanted. And the bed across the room is about maybe 30 feet away. It jumped off the floor, just slammed into the ceiling. And then as soon as it hit the ceiling with a loud crack, like the whole bed, it was a day bed. We used it as a couch and a guest bed. It just went boom into the ceiling. And I was just like, I got scared after that, and it snapped me out of it. All of a sudden, everything was back to normal, and the bed just crashed to the floor. And I was like, hello? Because I thought it was like a ghost or something. And then I ran out. Later, I found out that that was something that I was controlling. But in the heat of the moment, when I was 12 years old, I didn't understand it. But that event opened my eyes to the fact that we don't know everything. Like, that stuff is actually real. Like, it doesn't seem like it should be real. You watch Lord of the Rings, you read fantasy books, you play video games, you see all this crazy stuff, and it's like, oh, that's so fake, that's so stupid. But then it actually happened. And I have a lot of other really boring tales, like dreams that came true. It happened quite a bit, and I think those are really boring and lame because it happens like to everybody. Like, oh, I had a dream, and later it happened. Like, oh, I'm so amazing. Like, I think we all have souls, we all have spirits, and there's a spiritual realm, and we accidentally tap into it sometimes. And it's just part of being human. So I don't really think those things are amazing. And I got in a fight once, and I got super pissed, and I was walking like the Hulk at this dude, and he ran at me, and he jump kicked me like in the air, like, hiya! And then he hit in front of me, but he didn't actually hit me, and he flew back and sprained his ankle. So I didn't move, I didn't feel it. It was like he hit an invisible force field in front of my chest. This stuff like that, it really opened my eyes to the fact that we really don't know everything. We're ignorant, we're stupid. We think we're so smart, but we're not. We're barely scratching the surface of what reality is. I'm not clairvoyant, I don't see spirits, I don't talk to spirits. I don't claim to have any special gifts. It's just I randomly touch into these states where I'm able to do these things. And I've also have been able to astral project or like out-of-body experiences. I've come close to death a few times because of how rough I am and how wild. Like I broke a lot of my bones, and I think that might have something to do with it, but I'm not sure. I started astral projecting a long time ago also, and astral projection is crazy. Like it feels like you're gonna die. Like you wake up in a paralyzed state. A lot of people call it sleep paralysis, and then you learn to be able to get up out of your body and travel. And I could tell hundreds of stories on astral projection, which again I think is kind of boring because it just happens to so many people. It's just kind of an ordinary thing. You can read so many books on it. But one of the interesting things I found with astral projection that parallels one of the stories I read is the story of the Green Goblin. And he said it opened a portal and jumped into it, and the portal snapped shut. People who astral project often see portals like that. The entities will open and walk through and they'll close. It's a common thing. You can go into any astral projection group on Facebook and ask, hey, anyone see a portal? Anyone see any of that stuff in astral state, like an entity opening a hole? And there'll be a lot of people that'll say, yeah, I see that. I see it all the time. I had a omen dream that my mom died. It was black and white. She was on the floor and I was screaming. I was holding her lifeless body like, Mom! And then I woke up and I was like, holy crap. And then I was like, Mom, I dreamed that you died. She's like, you didn't. And she's laughing because I always joke with her. And I was like, no, serious. I really dreamed that you died. And I told her the dream. And then 2 weeks later, it was 5 a.m. and I was dead asleep. And my mom started choking in the middle of the night, 5 o'clock in the morning. I went to bed at like 3 a.m., so I was pretty asleep. But I was aware that she was gonna die because of my dream. I felt like it was a warning. And she knocked on my door. She went, and in my dream, I saw a blue flash of light, and I heard the knock, and I was like, my mom's choking or my mom's gonna die. And I woke up violently, and I threw my blankets off. I was like, gah! And I got up, and before she could knock a second time, I ripped the door open, and I saw my mom was choking. She's like, so I spun her around. I did the Heimlich on her. I was like, ugh, because I knew she was gonna die. I was pissed. I was frantic to save her, and I did the Heimlich on her. I was doing it super rough, and I lifted her off the ground when I was doing the Heimlich because I'm a lot bigger than my mom. She's like that tall or something. She's like that tall, and I saved her, and my head was swimming from the adrenaline. But I feel like that dream told me that she was gonna die because they didn't want her to die, and I was able to save her because of it. I was having a regular dream, and then all of a sudden my dream was intruded by something. It was hoots, so it was like Bigfoot intruded my dream. And I know you guys will roll your eyes and think this is stupid, but I could tell when something's from outside of my own thoughts. I lucid dream and I astral project a lot, so you could distinctly tell when it's from outside of you. And I don't know if everyone could sense that, but I've been doing this stuff for long enough where it's very obvious to me. And It was clear to me that these were from outside my thoughts. I started hearing whoops and hoots. In my dream, I was walking with my cousin, and we're just like, no, like hiking or whatever. And all of a sudden I start hearing whoop, 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 like these things surrounding me. And then my cousin just evaporated, and it changed from a dream to something else. I felt a little bit scared, but I'm fearless. I'm a very brave guy, especially in my dreams. In my dreams, I'm like the Hulk. I'm like Superman. I'm totally fearless. If a nightmare comes at me, I just stick my hand in his face and I rip it in half and I keep walking. That's just how I am in my subconscious. So I felt fear because this hooting was around me, but I went ahead anyway and I walked forward. And there was this old house in front of me, and I felt the fear, and I just walked. I just walked like a badass or whatever. And I went into the house, and there's this giant, like 10 foot, huge, muscular, hairy, like Bigfoot dude, and he's sitting like with his hand on his knee, and he's like sitting like a man, like a freaking king or something, right? And I just walked directly up to him, and then I bowed down, and I bowed my head. And I was like, I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm not trying to exploit you. All I want to do is learn from you. I said something along those lines. And then he nodded at me and flicked his hand. And there's some female Bigfoot or something. Then I woke up and I was like, weird, man. Like, I told my mom, because my mom's a shaman. I was like, damn, it's like these Bigfoot, like, I've never encountered Bigfoot. I don't reach out to them. I'm not like, ooh, Bigfoot, contact me. Or nothing like that, because I'm not even sure if they could. I hear about it, but it don't happen to me. You know what I mean? I have an open mind to it, but it don't happen to me. And I just think, okay, well, that was weird. And then the next day, nothing. The day after that, I wake up in the astral state, which is astral projection, and there's a female Bigfoot communicating to me, and she's showing me the forest through her eyes, and I'm looking at these big ass trees, and she's talking to me about collecting food for her kid or something. And then I'm like aware of what's going on, and I'm like, all right, can you mentor me? Can you teach me? And then I started snapping out of the astral state, and she said yes. But when she said yes, it was like yes, and it was all staticky. And I found that interesting, because I'm talking about Bigfoot on my channel. I'm talking about how they're noble or spiritual beings. And then all of a sudden, I have an intrusive dream where something invades my dream. And then I have some kind of... It's very rare for me to have psychic communication with anything in the astral state. It's only happened to me a handful of times. And this happened the other day. And I woke up, I was like, holy crap, like, they're actually trying to communicate with me for some reason. I don't know why. And I don't really know why. I don't know what to make of it. But I thought I'd give you guys a little bit of an update. I can't really read stories right now because my computer is broken. The charger, the cord broke, and it's just dead. So I ordered a new cord, but it won't be until the 20th. So I'm just making videos on another computer. And all my stories were saved on that computer that I edited. I was going to narrate a whole bunch of stories. Anyway, this is just an introduction to why I'm interested in the paranormal and what got me interested in some of my lame experiences. I've never face-to-face encountered a cryptid, although I'm interested in them, but I have had paranormal experiences. Alright, remember to like it up if you liked the video, and remember to click dislike if you didn't like the video. I don't care either way.